Hello YouTube and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Etiquette episode 11, and I do hope you guys enjoy. Today's lesson is going to be read thine cards. Now, this is quite an interesting topic to say the least, because a lot of misplays and misunderstandings and confusion about the game can actually come from not reading your cards correctly. Now, I'm just as guilty as anybody else of making that kind of mistake. For example, a couple of months ago in the last Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament I went to, you guys actually pointed out in my video that I made a major misplay from Vanguard of the Dragon, resurrecting my Blue Eyes Dragon when someone played Solemn Judgment on it. Now, I know the knowledge of the card quite extensively, that when it's sent to the graveyard I can resurrect a Blue Eyes White Dragon, or resurrect a normal dragon monster from either player's graveyard. But what I didn't read correctly was when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, and that was the key thing. I honestly thought it was like a Light and Darkness Dragon. When it's destroyed, when it's sent to the graveyard, it can resurrect something, but those key words, sent from the field to the graveyard. Now, because it got solemn warned, or solemn judged I think it was, technically it never hit the field, so I shouldn't have got that effect to resurrect my Blue Eyes and to win the game basically. So the duel I had, which was against Psychics and the opponent Scott, could have lasted a couple of more turns, and Scott could have actually won that game if I hadn't done that misplay from not reading my card right. So yeah, I'm quite capable of making that mistake, and a lot of other people make that kind of mistake too. There's a difference between having the actual knowledge of what the card does in reversing to actually reading the card right. Because there was another major misplay I think some players would make back when Potaggiati first came out. They would know that you can reveal the top 3 cards, pick one and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck, but some players actually forgot you still can't special summon that turn. And I've done that mistake myself when I first got my Potaggiati. I think a lot of people are quite guilty of making that mistake, forgetting that Potaggiati was such a good card that it didn't have that. They forgot the drawback that you couldn't special summon that turn. So yeah, reading your cards is a key difference between winning a game or causing a loss. For example, if you read your cards right and play it correctly, and play the effect correctly and everything, then obviously it can determine whether or not you win a game. But if you misplay it and don't read the card right and do a completely different effect from what it's supposed to do, again, it can get you a game win, but to be honest with you, I don't think that's a really fun way to win when you realise you've actually done a misplay from not reading your card right. I mean, when you guys told me about the Vanguard one, I was really I wasn't upset, I was really annoyed with myself that, you know, the duel could have gone on a bit longer, to say the least, and, you know, that it could have potentially turned out completely different. But I've learned my lesson, you know, read the cards and everything. So it's really important to make sure you read your card right, especially for new players, because again, new players will often rely on their knowledge of what they have instead of just reading cards and playing the card as it's supposed to be like. I mean, a lot of experienced players and pro players and everything can actually just play the card, say yay or nay to its activation, and just go ahead with it, and they already know they can't do that. You know, it basically in a silent form, by not saying what it does. They just go like Potaggiati, do the action, and then they don't special summon for the rest of the turn, and that's them showing that they know the knowledge of the card and know how it works. But for a lot of other players, taking time to read your cards to make sure you get it right is really key, because if you do make a misplay about it and you're honest about it, then obviously it can sort out problems. But some players can get really ticked off when you don't read the cards right, and of course that can lead to fights and stuff like that, and nobody wants that at all. The other thing is that the opponent could sometimes point out your misplay if you've not read your cards right, and if you firmly believe in your knowledge of the card instead of reading the card, then obviously that can lead to a lot of problems. You have to make sure, you know, if you're really in doubt about how the card works, even if you've read it several times and don't quite understand it, call a judge over as soon as you can and get that card sorted for you. Otherwise it's just going to cause a lot of problems and a lot of hassle later on basically. So that's it for today's lesson everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next etiquette video. Bye bye!